Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's SAP Community call. My name is Svea Becker, and I'm part of the SAP Community team. And I would like to give you some information before we start today. Everyone who joined the call is on mute, and we will start with a short introduction and a short presentation, and afterwards it's open for Q&A, as we announced earlier. So you can use the Q&A function of Zoom if you hover over the bottom or the top of your Zoom menu. Sometimes it's at the top, sometimes it's at the bottom. So you can find the Q&A, and there you have the possibility to write your question down the whole call during the presentation. Or you can also use the chat window, which is here open on the right-hand side. So this is all from my side. Enjoy the call, and I hand over to Craig.
Hi, and a very warm welcome from me as well. I'm happy and pleased and excited that we have Juergen Mueller joining us today for a CTO Q&A with the SAP community. It's a first, and hopefully you guys will all take advantage of having him here. He's a warrior here. Sapphire around the corner, and he's taking time out to jump on a call with us. So I'm really excited. Juergen, welcome. Thank you for joining us, and just fantastic that you're here.
Hey, Craig, it's a pleasure. Thanks for moderating. Good to see you again. Thanks for everyone here participating. And yeah, it's different times. So therefore, to be honest, next week we have Sapphire, but last Saturday we recorded everything, and except the live Q&A. So I'm fine. I'm here.
Oh, fantastic. And, you know, as I'm watching the chat, all the greetings from different places around the world, and as you mentioned, it's different times that we're in. And I was wondering, how are you personally handling the not traveling idea? For me, it's been crazy. Normally I was always traveling, and it's been different. How are you handling this?
I'm in home office. What is it now, week 15 or so? And like almost all other SAP employees as well. So we really switched and shifted almost roughly 100, a bit more than 100,000 people working from home. Of course, we do have a few people that who need to go to the data center and so on. For those, we need to have the respective permits and so on and so on. In some regions now, in China, for example, we start opening again, and are now, I think, at 30-ish% back in the office. So it's different. And on the one hand side, I like not traveling so much because it was like too much. On the other hand, I'm missing colleagues. I'm missing hanging out with you. I'm missing meeting customers. So that of course is different. And I also have to say it's not less work. Rather the opposite, maybe because everyone is at home, not traveling. So workload has certainly not decreased, but to be honest, we can be thankful that this is the case, because so many companies are challenged so heavily that actually it's an honor to be continuing to work and continuing to engage with customers, with partners, with the community. So I'm happy, and yeah, it is a very stressful time. I don't have caretaking responsibilities, I have to say. So also internally, we analyze how people feel, and there you see the split. So if you don't have like school, if you don't have kindergarten, if you don't have anything for your children, for example, but also have the responsibility to work, of course, we ask for best effort, but we know that it is very, very challenging.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with those statements. I don't have my children with me on a regular basis, but even when the short times that I do have them, it's different. It's for them, it's different. They can't just run out and go play soccer at the field or anything like this. It is a much different environment, but it is nice to know that, you know, different areas of the world are starting to open back up again, that, you know, our colleagues in China who were impacted, you know, in the early stages are already coming back to work. So it's all promising. It's exciting times. It's different times. And It's still a lot. And speaking of a lot, you have some things to share with us, and I don't want to take too much of time away from it. I know we have a few slides to go through, and I know there's quite a few questions. I'm watching the counter already jump up. So there's already questions happening now as we're just kind of chit-chatting a little bit. So why don't we just jump right into the slides so you can share a little bit of updates with us, and then we'll get to that Q&A round.
Yeah, let's do that. So I had one eye on the chat as well. So it's great to see such a diverse group. Thanks for joining. From the States to Australia. So we have almost all time zones in as well. I saw India, Bangladesh, Bavaria, and Berlin as well. So welcome to everyone. And what I get asked in the moment is a lot about a few topics. One is the Corona Warn app. So maybe some of you heard that the German government roughly 50 days back reached out to SAP and to Deutsche Telekom to develop the Corona Warn app. Then I would like to share some thoughts on our current strategy and the business technology platform. Some topics or some insights. I have one slide for integration because that topic comes up. And then a lot of Q&A. So I will be brief because then we can go into any direction that you want. And Craig, of course, helps us moderate that. Craig, makes sense for you? I use you as a model for the rest of the community now.
Definitely sounds like a plan. I'm really looking forward to it, especially this first topic here, the Corona Warn app. I'm really excited about this one personally, so I'm excited to hear what's coming.
Yeah, so as I said, roughly 50 days back, the German government reached out to Telekom and to us. And the idea, I mean, this pandemic hit the whole world. And the idea is, of course, to break infection chains. We will continue to have to wear masks and keep distance, but technology can help too. And here the idea is that you are informed faster in case you are tested positively, because here, at least in Germany, it's the case that it can take a couple of days even until you are informed. And then if you are a Corona positively tested person, what the local health ministries do is they ring you up and they ask with whom you have been in contact over the last 2 weeks. And then they take notes with phone numbers and then they ring up the other people. So it can take up to a week until you have these contacts in place and want them. With the app, ideally what you do once we have all the labs integrated as well, you are at the doctor. When you take a test, you can scan a QR code and then you are basically, you are registered for the test result, and then you get this information immediately. Also, what the app does is it exchanges information between phones. So here on the left-hand side, you see this Corona Warn app. That's the German name, and it continuously scans for other devices, and it broadcasts every 2.5 to 5 minutes. It broadcasts for 4 seconds unique IDs from your phone. And your phone stores all the IDs that you basically send out and all the IDs that you receive. All of that without accessing any personal information, because data privacy is a huge topic, of course. So therefore, this is the idea. And then what happens is that if you're tested positively, you can, the user is in full control. So you can help others by submitting your IDs that you sent out over the last 2 weeks. You can submit them and they are uploaded to a server, to a central server. And all phones regularly download all these, so to say, positive IDs from that server. And then locally on your phone, also not at any central instance, but locally on your phone, an algorithm runs to identify whether you ran into someone and you spent more than, in the moment, the model is more than 15 minutes, closer than 2 meters. And if that's the case, you get a warning. And that warning then gives you the instructions, stay home, get tested, such that eventually we can break infection chains much, much faster. And if we like in the far future do crazy things like taking the tram or bus again, of course, if someone calls me, I don't know whom I met. I have no idea. but with technology, we can be faster and we can notify everyone who needs to be notified. Yeah, and that's a crazy project, to be honest, because you see it here, because it's not just the app. You see it here, it's the app, it's the processes in the background, it's the health authorities, it's laboratories, it's then this verification process of am I really positively tested? Because otherwise, if I don't want to go to school anymore, and if I want to shut down my school, I just push the button that I've been tested positively, even if I haven't, and then everyone gets the warning. So a lot is happening. And then of course, IT security, data protection. I bet, I don't know, but I bet we wrote more text in IT security and data protection than source code.
I can imagine on this one. So there are a couple of questions that have already come in specifically to this one. One, will it work with the Apple Watch? Will it work on an iPad, or must it be a mobile phone? And how many people have been involved in the project, roughly?
Yeah, so we focus on phone. So we focus on iPhone, on iOS, and on Android, because we want to get as much penetration as possible in the shortest period of time. And I don't know, to be honest. Yeah, no. So that's the first one. And then we can look whether we are missing people and if such extensions make sense. So far, we only have the task to get it running on iOS and Android. And luckily, Google and Apple, they came up with this exposure notification framework. So the phone actually helps. But also we had to do quite a few iterations, for example, on distance measurement, because Bluetooth is not made for measuring distances. And here we work with Fraunhofer, it's the largest applied science institute, if you wish, in Germany. And they do have a real physical testing facility. And there they, for example, simulate a restaurant visit, they simulate a queue, they simulate a train, and we really do measurements. And this goes back to Google and Apple, and they actually change and improve their systems as well, which is good, because then everyone benefits. And number of people, we wouldn't disclose that, but it's sufficiently staffed. I mean, you need a design team for the front end, you need implementation for iOS, for Android, you need this verification server, you need to bring labs into the game. So it's quite significant. It's not a handful of people.
And it's a collaboration as well. It's not just SAP.
No, it's SAP, it's Deutsche Telekom, it's of course the German Robert Koch Institute, the health ministry, they are affiliated, they belong to each other, they are the customer. And then there's many like data protection, there's also Fraunhofer, as I mentioned. Then we collaborate with a group of startups, they help with user research and some front-end development. So it's, if you count every party, it's roughly 25-ish, wow, which is still a bit better than the original project. There was a project before and they had more than 130 organizations who tried to come together and get this done, and that led to some challenges.
I can imagine. So a couple of questions that popped in, they're very related, about will the app be available specifically only within Germany first, or will it go broad? Or do we know
that's
yet?
A bit of a pity, to be honest. I mean, if we as a world, or at least as some like continents or so, would have one digital ministry or be even closer together, we probably would only have one app. This app here initially will be available in Germany. We still argue whether it should or could also be available in further app stores, not just Germany, but that is to be determined. And what we work on is the international interoperability. Because, the good thing is that most countries, not all, but most countries use this Google and Apple API or plan to use it for their apps. So therefore, we are already discussing with the European Union, and there's some working groups that we would build, or someone would build, so to say, like a roaming backend. And by doing that, these would also be compatible, because and now Europe is opening up slowly again. So if we will have summer vacation, you don't just stay in one country. Luckily, we are international, and therefore it also has to work internationally. So that will be, to be honest, the priority after getting the app out next week. So next week is release date, unless anything super critical happens in our final testing. And yeah, that will be the topic afterwards, because that's also very dear to our customer and to the German Ministry of Health, that it does not only work in one country, but it works internationally as well.
Okay, fantastic. The questions are just, I'm utterly just amazed at how many questions are on this topic alone. But this one's a very interesting. What was the biggest, or is the biggest challenge with building an app like this? I mean, you already kind of hinted at it with the more people you add to it, the more parties that get involved, the more challenging it can get. But you know, is there something that sticks out specifically in your mind?
Yes, it's not a technical one. It's getting the adoption, because of course it works with 2 people. So if someone asks what's the minimum amount of people you need to crack NI, if you have it, and we are close, and one of us gets positively tested, the other one gets informed. But of course that doesn't, it doesn't really help. So therefore you need millions of people using the app. And therefore, especially because in Germany, we had a discussion around a central model where like a lot of data would be, more data would have been aggregated centrally. Therefore, what we did was we went and did a very radical approach and said we do everything open source. So if you go to corona1.app or search on GitHub for Corona1 app, you find the repository. And there you find everything from scoping to architecture, to there's like proof points from the Computer Chaos Club on, okay, which kind of characteristics should an app have, such a tracing app have, in order to like fulfill data privacy regulations. And so that for me was the biggest challenge, and is still the biggest challenge. And we cope with it by being brutally open and brutally following the open source approach.
Well, I think we could probably spend hours just on this topic alone, but there are other things that we would like to share. For those of you that are posting questions specifically about this, we will follow up with these questions. We will have a follow-up blog post to talk about this as well, to fill in any of the additional blanks or point you in the right direction with the links.
And I also published some LinkedIn posts. So if you search for my profile on LinkedIn, then you also should see those. It's exciting. And here, last point maybe on this one, what I like is that there's such a high relevance. So yes, it is a lot of work and it's a lot of extra effort. But the teams are super motivated. I'm super motivated because there's really a deeper meaning into it, a deeper sense in it. And that is something where I also, as a learning for the future, will take a bit more time and care than for the normal projects we have. That we also spend some time on that. Like, why are we doing it? What's the impact? Because that just drives satisfaction, even though it is, of course, a lot of work.
Yes, definitely. All right.
Okay. Yeah, I have the Q&A open and the chat open here as well. So thanks for providing that much information and so on. It should be like super briefly come to the next point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, then I won't bore you because we do have Sapphire in front of us. I think Thursday is my stream, and what I want to share is that I interacted with a lot of customers, even in this difficult situation. And what I found interesting is that all of them had severe challenges, really severe challenges because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But these challenges were very different. It was from, hey, my supply chain is running hot because I shifted to goods in need, to I need to do weekly or daily cash forecasting and my analytics is running hot as well. To, okay, let's think a bit into the future. My statistical models won't work anymore. because of these like huge discrepancies and so on. So that was interesting to see. And what I heard and learned was, for them, agility and quick time to value, these were the most important things. How can I cope with all these crazy requests that come to IT now? And how can we create value very quickly? And a good thing on our side is that, of course, SAP provides end-to-end applications, but especially during those times, you do need a technology platform. But let me spend at least one minute on the upper layers, so to say. Also in this new, or also now in 2020, we continue to deliver the Intelligent Suite. So the Intelligent Enterprise Suite is our target. And here that, of course, includes the digital core with S/4HANA and LOB solutions, which are nicely integrated along end-to-end processes. And something which is slightly new, not completely new for SAP, of course, but new, you see that highlighted, is an regained focus on industry. So you will see us, we're working on end-to-end vertical industry solutions even more. And then two things: one, experience management. Of course, we continue embedding and leveraging X data as well. And Climate 21 is our project for doing good for the planet. A, for SAP as a role model. So we try to be very sustainable. But B, and that has an even larger impact, that we as SAP can help others with our technologies, such that they can't just manage top line and bottom line, so revenue and cost, but also the green line when it comes to carbon emissions, for example. And all of that, also the new industry cloud solutions, and more, of course, also the Intelligent Suite, is heavily focusing and leveraging the business technology platform. So here we also have complete clarity within SAP that this is the way to go. And on the business technology platform, I know you're interested in the tech part of it as well. Just on a super high level, 3 qualities that I ask my team to deliver. The first one is business centricity. SAP should differentiate from hyperscalers, for example, where you and we also get compute, network, storage, commodity services. Then the second one is a unified platform, so all technology working hand in hand. And third, also, especially in these times, openness is very important. So how can we support open standards? How can you as customers, as partners, integrate SAP in the ecosystem that the customer has? So therefore, we see that openness is even more important. And then we are focusing on integration. So let me give you, maybe you saw that already, Christian Klein in February published a paper on behalf of SAP, these suite qualities. I want to have your eye on that a bit. So we are really pushing through the suite qualities. And what do we mean with that? Seamless user experience for our applications, consistent security, identity management, aligned domain models such that our applications speak one language. Then it's all about analytics. How do we embed analytics into our products? Then sometimes we got feedback that with SAP, you have as many inboxes and workflow engines as you have SAP products. So that also ends with one workflow inbox. Then more for partners, administrators, a coordinated lifecycle. And last but not least, actually it's the beginning, end-to-end business blueprints that we publish on api.sap.com, where you can see how we integrate along end-to-end processes, but also that helps you to integrate SAP and non-SAP. And yeah, just to finish it off, to leave enough time for Q&A on the next topic, in the business technology platform, this is our technical foundation of SAP. You find 4 different areas: database, data management, of course, SAP HANA, but also data warehouse cloud. Then analytics with SAP Analytics Cloud, including planning. And then application development. Craig, we already saw a lot of questions on CAP and integration portfolio. And last but not least, our intelligent technologies, which we mainly use to infuse them into our own products. But also if you as customers want to use them yourself, and you can do that as well. And we have many successful examples with that.
Okay.
I tend to stop here. We would have a bit on integration, but let's let the
there's a really interesting question that's popped up that I think this might be a good spot to ask it. It's regarding the data management strategy of SAP. There's multiple versions of data models for master data, such as on-premise MDG data model, S4 data model, MDS API data model in SAP Cloud Platform for different business scenarios. Going forward, how will all of these data models be integrated or synchronized in one common place? It would be great if there was some sort of an overview cockpit specific for all, or what will the data intelligence come forward in this scenario?
Yeah, that is a good one, and it's very close to my heart, actually. When I became a board member, or even a bit before, so now like one year and 9 months back, maybe, we had one engineering leadership team meeting where we got all the lines of business and platform engineering leads. And I was, to be honest, also a bit surprised, because when I built an application, of course, I need data. And like easy API-based access to data. And then, of course, I need many other things, but that's one core asset I need. And back then, we agreed that we need to tackle this, and we are doing it as well already. So what we do internally is, and do we have a better slide for that? No, I just tell you. What we do is we modeled all our end-to-end processes. You know them, need to cash, source to pay, total workforce management, or hire to retire, and design to operate. And then what we did was, okay, and this captures more than 80% of our portfolio and what customers ask us for. And then we went through those and looked at the data model in order to align them. Because yes, an employee in SuccessFactors was not the same employee that we would store in our ERP or S4 on-prem system, for example. Same with cost centers and so on. And what we do now is we defined one domain model for many of those assets. In total, I think we have 60 core assets, and then there is like a workforce person is what we call it now, or cost center. And then there's 150-ish, I think, related to it, like an address and so on and so on. And what we ask our lines of business to do is not to change the data model. That, I mean, some of you have been involved or knew how painful it is to change data models, but to provide an interface such that each and every application can read and write those data models. And this is true for a cost center, for a workforce person already. I think that is the Q2 release, where this actually also goes live, and we take more and more afterwards. And by doing that, we really have one aligned domain model for SAP. And that then, of course, we also use, for example, in analytics. And this is what we do internally. And then if you look at the chat, thanks, Gregor, very good. I see you're very active. If you go to the chat, you see SAP Graph. So SAP Graph is an API-based access to data. And here, this does not cover all the objects we already aligned internally, but of course they will come and be available on SAP Graph as well. Here, this gives you programmatic access to these objects to read and write. And then behind the scenes, the data is actually routed to the data owner, so to say, and distributed to all solutions. So if you click on it here, I don't know if can I share my screen? Let me just try.
Not sure if, yeah, it might work.
You should be able to share your screen, yeah.
Who can see my screen? All panelists. Okay. Okay, so let me, can you see
Well,
it?
the question is can the audience see, or is it just?
Maybe we can get a short feedback in the chat. So I can see it, yeah.
I clicked that everyone
Yes,
should be.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
it's enough, thank you.
Very
I mean the answers.
250 yeses just came through.
Okay, so, okay. Spa.com is also nice, but not now, not during those times here. So I'm now, so if you're not logged in, you have read access. And here you can, for example, like api.graph.com, beta customers, you do a get request, and then you get all customers. And that, for example, then you can programmatically deal with that. I just pick one, and I have no clue if this customer has sales orders or not, but that one doesn't. Emails, but I think you get the idea. Okay, now I really picked a bad example. I think you get the idea that here you have the processes here. So cross-process entities. So these you already see, like a cost center. And then you have lead to cash objects like customer, sales area, sales orders, and so on, source to pay, recruit to retire, like skills. And here, like one after the other, we are onboarding new domain objects. And then these are actually you can query them, but also you can create new or update those. And it's a bit lengthy answer maybe to your question, Craig, but that is what you will see. And over time, we will also bring this back to api.sap.com, but for now we needed, that's Corona app news. Let's say do not disturb. But for now, we need a bit of a playground here. But over time, you will see that on api.sap.com. And the funny thing is that, of course, you as a customer then can define different landscapes. And for example, route this thing here against your development landscape, against your test landscape, or against your productive landscape. So that is what is in the making when it comes to aligned domain models, and also how we expose this in, I think, a very modern way to the community.
Okay. Very cool.
Okay, Craig, there you are again.
All right. Very cool. Speaking of all of this, combining this, we've talked a little bit about the back end and everything like that, but what about the user experience across all of these LOB applications? How is SAP addressing this?
Yeah, also a good point. At TechEd, I already showed some progress in the lead to cash area. And actually we are, complete is always a tough word, but making a lot of progress in lead to cash, design to operate, and source to pay by the end of this quarter. So by the end of Q2, you will see a significant improvement of the user interface, because we know, like in design to operate, I don't have it out of my head, but it's certainly more than 15 or maybe even 20 different UI concepts we exposed an end user to. And now when you go in, this will be also Q2, where this is significantly improved. And Q4 is recruit to retire with success factors, field glass, and so on. So significant work going on, because also, to be honest, we can't hear it anymore. We know the criticism is right, and we just have to fix it, and we fight it through and do it.
Excellent. Excellent. Looking through, we had a lot of questions come in on multiple in the chat, in the Q&A, in the community, on the first blog post that was published about the call in general.
You have to manage a lot of input vectors now.
I've got 3 screens right now. 3 different devices. I'm looking for the next questions. There's a couple of really interesting ones. One that kind of stands out to me a little bit, and I think it might go towards you know, a little bit of clarification to help. The question is, will it be possible, and this is where maybe clarification and a better understanding, will it be possible to deploy the business technology also on premise?
Was there a particular technology, or which one was it?
I'm one that maybe the person can, they're posting in the chat, are there plans to address the fact that things in real world are represented by more than business objects in SAP applications to support a digital twin of the business? Klaus asked that in the chat, and he also sent this Q&A question. I'm hoping, Klaus, that you're expanding on the question that you're meaning here.
Yeah. I don't know if I get the complete question right. I mean, in the IoT space, there's a lot of digital twin work that is going on. Yeah, that's, to be honest, the best answer I have in the moment, because of course, all business objects, if I like create a cost center, if I create an order, that is a direct representation of the real world. So maybe, Klaus, you can be a little bit more specific if this didn't already answer your question.
Yeah, maybe Klaus, you could add a follow-up question in there, and I'll watch for that. Another one that came in is, as part of Intelligent X Data, as in part of Intelligent X Data will play a critical role apart from O data. How can customers generate and use X data? Is Qualtrics going to be available as part of the SAP products? Mm-hmm. Well, I guess they are an SAP product now. We're one family.
Yeah, so Qualtrics is, of course, you can use Qualtrics standalone. And actually, what we did during this pandemic is we opened Qualtrics up and made it available for free for like we called it remote pulse check. And last time I checked, but this is like 4 weeks back, I think it was 7,500 companies who made use of this. So really massive traction. And then what Qualtrics has is they have a very stable API. So they have very stable APIs. So you can also use that and embed Qualtrics into your products. And this is also what we do. So we also integrate Qualtrics into our products, to improve SAP itself. For example, in Fiori applications, we will enable that you can easily provide feedback, but also, for example, in intelligent product design, where as part of the design process of a new product, we now like natively and very closely embed Qualtrics, such that the designers and people who like want to build and improve a product can actually get feedback very, very early on. So yes, and there's a lot of use cases. So if you don't see it, then your area has not been touched yet. But we are doing it. But of course, also partners can do it, and customers can use Qualtrics as well.
Now there is one more question. I'm going to switch gears on you very rapidly here. Future of on-premise HANA development. XSA on-premise, is there anything that you can add around this topic? I know it's, there hasn't really been, the question is, I do not see any roadmap and new updates from on-premise XSA. Is there anything that you can share with us on that one?
Yeah, so certainly HANA is a database on-premise. We continue working on that, stabilizing quality, TCO operations. So we continue working on HANA on-premise, also including long-term releases. On XSC, so XS Classic, that is deprecated, and we help customers to move to XSA. And also here, we see that many customers actually prefer going to Cloud Foundry to build applications. So if you ask me if you not build something new now, Cloud Foundry should be the way to go. And if you as a partner or as a customer are stuck on XSC or XSA, also please feel free to reach out such that we can help you in your potential migration program that you have. That is what I would share with you. I don't know who asked it, but I hope that helps. And really, if you are in such a situation, feel free to reach out, and we will see how we can help you.
Okay. So a couple more came in around the HANA area and the S4 HANA. So I'll try to stay on that tack a little bit. I've got a lot of questions popping in. I am trying to keep up as well as with the chat as well. People are posting in both. Regarding big data and S4 HANA applications integration, what are the best use cases we can implement using big data? Any thoughts there on that one? And of course, with the significant product support and product developments that are going on, are there any big things that we should be looking forward to from as a consultant perspective that maybe should be a focal point for education purposes? Okay.
Yeah, I try to give you an answer. First of all, looking forward to, yes, next week we have SAPPHIRE. So there will be a book of news again. So please have a look at that about all the great news that are coming. HANA Cloud is a huge focus topic for us. And we base Analytics Cloud on it and Data Warehouse Cloud on it. So I have extremely high hopes. And also as a consultant, I think Data Warehouse Cloud hits a point in the moment, because what we built into HANA Cloud, it's a very modern, it will set new standards in cloud-based enterprise data management. What we see is that data volumes get so large, it doesn't make sense to move them. So therefore, what we did immediately right from the get-go in HANA Cloud is that you have basically virtual data access, meaning you can access data, and we support a lot of data sources and are adding further data sources, but you don't have to move that data. So HANA actually is more intelligent, because we always had to invest a lot in HANA's optimizer and so on. So HANA is very intelligent with regard to data placement. And therefore, scenarios become very feasible, where you, for example, use a lot of AWS S3 or Azure's data stores. And you have like your data lake, for example, there, but you manage it via one plane, which is SAP HANA in the cloud. And that is something where we see a lot of potential, because usually companies have their most relevant, or many SAP companies, at least SAP customers, have their most relevant data in SAP, but it's in absolute terms, it's not the most data. And this bridges the gap, because you want to have the semantics of your business and analytics and data warehouse cloud, and you want to like really talk business. And this you can easily manage with a semantical data layer in data warehouse cloud, for example. But you need to have these huge amounts of data as well feeding into it. So I would search for these kind of scenarios. And that can be geospatial data, that can be event data, that can be IoT data, that can be all kinds of data where customers today struggle combining the business sense and business data with these huge amounts of data that they have. And with HANA Cloud and Data Warehouse Cloud, we introduce one layer where you can manage it all.
Okay. So there's a lot of questions that have popped up around this. In particular, questions around Kima and how will Kima play a role? What about the trials, HANA trials? Will we be expanding them to different cloud partners for trial hosting and along those lines? And of course, around our partners in general. Our cloud partners in general. Do we have any updates there? Some of the questions have been, what's up between Microsoft and SAP? You have some things on AWS, you have some things on Azure. Is there anything in there that's, it's kind of a hodgepodge of things right now, but it almost looks as though people are just kind of wondering where we're going in terms of where they should be looking as well.
Yeah, Okay, that's really a lot of different questions.
Yes, it is. It is.
AWS and Microsoft, I mean, we are good partners with both, but also, of course, and with Microsoft, it's even more prominent, and we are very open about it. We have a complicated relationship where they are our customer, we are their customer, we are partners, and in areas we are competitors. But how you can see it is that you should always look for SAP when it's about business data, like everything around your enterprise that touches SAP data, that extends or touches SAP processes. You should look for SAP. And for, of course, and we use it ourselves, compute, network, storage, commodity, backing services, for example, make use of the hyperscalers. And that way you have best of both worlds. Let me briefly come to Kyma. Kyma is the extension factory here. I'm very bullish on this because it helps with event based applications or event based or function as a service, event based programming. Because here what you can do is you can run your end-to-end process. And I recently talked to Henkel, also as part of SAPPHIRE. They do it, for example. They have their supply chain on SAP, but during these COVID-19 times, there is significantly more supply chain disruptions than normal. They don't want to change their SAP process. It runs smooth, it just should run. But if there's a disruption, they fire an event. And that event then gets routed to the account executive of these customers who will be impacted. And that way, they, in parallel to the very stable SAP process, they could innovate within a couple of days and build this extension, so to say. And this they build on Kyma, so where you are very flexible. Yeah. Further ones. I'm certainly missing out on a few of the topics, but it's just too
there's so many topics coming in. This one just came in, and we haven't touched a whole lot on the integration. We've touched a little bit on it, user experience across the LOBs, but what are our plans to integrate the different functionalities of SuccessFactors and Fieldglass?
Here we also, let me check whether we have that already. Internally, we have it, of course. We modeled the end-to-end process of, yeah, let me show that as well. Let me share my screen again. Let's see if that works. So even my source, in most cases, of course, we do have internal things, but it's api.sap.com. And then here, what is relatively new still is these business processes. And when you go to hire to retire here, what you see the process modeled in an end-to-end manner. And here, of course, you can do it yourself. You see workforce recruitment, onboarding, deployment, and management of the workforce, like time management, workforce administration, payroll. And here, the risk is high. I don't know which one is a good one. Let's say offer job candidate. Here you see how we modeled the whole thing. And ideally, that's not the case here. In some of those, you will see, okay, because that was not between applications. So whenever you see, sometimes you see swim lanes between different applications, like SuccessFactors, S4HANA, Fieldglass. And when you see lines between those, you see how we integrate them, which APIs we use to integrate those. So you can expect functional integration between Fieldglass and SuccessFactors. Maybe here in the job requisition, we have something. No, that's also all SuccessFactors. So sorry, I can't show it here right now, but you can explore it yourself. Just go on api.sap.com, and then you see these processes. And here you can expect to see all of the processes I mentioned: lead to cash, I mentioned source to pay, hire to retire, and design to operate. You will also see very soon. And here you really can see how we internally see these end-to-end processes and how we integrate those.
All right. So, and that's a public website for everybody. So api.sap.com. So
and you see that these qualities, I talked about openness, for example. It's not only true for our technology, but ideally also for how we present ourselves and how we provide you with information.
Absolutely. So we have enough time, I think, for like 2 more questions. One of them here, this could actually be a long question, or it could be a short question since Sapphire is just around the corner. Gartner's top 10 strategic technology trend for 2020 has listed hyperautomation as #1, which will disrupt industry. We know SAP is doing a lot in this area as part of intelligent enterprise, but if you can help us understand what is coming in the roadmap in this area.
Yeah, so I would highlight 2 things. One, we of course continuously by integrating our applications end to end, we take a lot of burden out of what customers have to do themselves today. Just because I don't need to download a file and then massage it and upload it, or I don't need to build an integration myself, but things are integrated out of the box. And then the second is intelligent robotic process automation from SAP. So here we deliver out of the box content as well. For example, for month-end close or other things, we deliver that as content for S/4HANA, for example, already. And also here we help, for example, in the pandemic times, because municipality reached out to us and they were completely overwhelmed. So people were sent to, or they asked for work aid. And usually that department in this municipality had like 5 requests per month. And now, of course, they had thousands. And they scaled up people from, I think, 3 to 75 in this department, but still they weren't able to cope with this demand. And by deploying intelligent robotic process automation, they could cut time by 80, 90, 95%. And like people could get their money within days and weeks instead of 20 months.
Oh, wow. Very cool. And the questions just keep flying in.
I see, we need to do that regularly, huh?
We might have to do this more often, like a whole day worth of it. We have time, 1 or 2 more maybe. Here's one, Qualtrics again. We haven't had a lot on Qualtrics. Qualtrics is a great tool for sentiment analysis and user experience in general. Is SAP planning to deploy it across SAP Cloud Platform for developer experience analysis? You're getting great feedback here, but SAP could collect broad developer feedback that way, which UI works, what needs improvement, which functionality is valuable, what is missing, and recommendations on backlog.
Yes, 100%. To be honest, I don't know the status on it, but that was one of the first things when I heard about Qualtrics, what I asked the team to do. So actually it's a good nudge for me to ask where we stand there, because I like that a lot. And I would like to have in the cloud platform cockpit, there needs to be, and everywhere around, there needs to be the ability to give feedback. So maybe we take that internally to the team here and check. And here I see that at least quarterly, we should do such sessions here. And then of course, we can also report back about a few of the learnings that we have.
Absolutely. So we're right almost at time. We've got about 5 minutes left. I do want to end this on a note.
Check. So I could go like 15 minutes over if you can.
The number of questions flying in, we could be here all day. I think it's fantastic. But the one question that I want to put out there, I am paraphrasing a little bit from different sources that I have, but a lot of it is going in a similar direction. We've had a lot of questions recently about education, about certification, about where the knowledge should be being learned. We had questions earlier about this a little bit, but we've got, a lot of resources that SAP offers itself. But as we look at the market changes and how COVID has impacted the market as well, we see a lot of our consultants out there have had to adapt how they work, how they learn the technologies that are changing, even shifting companies that have shifted to different technology tracks. Is there anything that you can share with us where SAP is helping around that education topic to make sure that our audience, our community out there is getting what they need to be able to continue in their career paths?
Yeah. So I hope that Open SAP is doing a good job. So that's where I always push for, that we make as much as possible available there. What we still have on our radar is that we have, I think, too many channels. And therefore sometimes we are missing out on updating one or the other channel, and we don't have as much demand, so to say, concentrated on one channel, being it. So we also want to strengthen the community website and do more there again and so on. So that is something which I think we need to improve, because we have too many channels. We have help.sap.com, we have the community, we have multiple communities, and so on and so on and so on. But on your original question, so I hope that our education offerings, and I know that we like brought some of them together. Here also, Tammy is posting learning journeys. We combine them all on help.sap.com. Thanks a lot, Tammy. As well as if you think about cloud platform, there's this Discovery Center, where also education is free. I pushed heavily for trials. I'm not completely happy yet where we are, because there should be free trials, and ideally even at least if you reach a certain level in the community for developing and testing, you should have free access. So there's more things coming, and I hope you appreciate that step by step we are making progress.
Absolutely. So we see it here, like that regarding trials. Huge fan of the SAP Learning Hub, learning journeys. It definitely resonates. We are going to come to a close, though. We don't want to push everything too far and take up too much of your time. As much as I really want to keep you on for another hour or so answering questions, this is fantastic. We would love for you to come back and join us again for another one of these, in a quarter, in a week, in a month, whenever you feel like you have the time. But if there's one thing that you could ask of the SAP community as we move forward, as this stuff goes out, what would that be? The community is also here to help SAP. So what would be your request to all of them?
Yeah, my request would be to give us honest feedback. So we, as I said, have these four areas: database, data management, analytics, including planning, then everything around building, extending, integrating applications, and intelligent technologies. And here, give us honest feedback, because we want to be the best when it comes to these capabilities around the enterprise. And we do have, of course, there's specialized vendors for all kinds of things. There's the hyperscalers who also offer more and more of these capabilities, who want to go up the stack, so to say. So therefore, you are very close to our heart, and therefore, if I can ask you of something, it's give us honest feedback of what we can improve, where you need to see us moving, and we'll also make that easier for you. We talked about deploying Qualtrics along the cloud platform, potentially more technology platforms, such that we can be, it's a new world, especially now, everyone is, almost everyone is at home. That also is a good equalizer, so to say, because it's not just the people who can travel to a certain event, but it should be everyone whose voice can be heard. And I think that pandemic now accelerates this trend. And then, of course, we never want to let any customer down. So if you see any severe situations where you say, okay, why isn't SAP stepping in? Probably because we don't see it. So therefore, then also, please raise this.
All right, fantastic. And there is a multitude of questions and requests coming in on multiple channels to me right now around the CAP conversation. Mm-hmm. It is a big conversation. It is a nice conversation. Perhaps we can, for the community, we can schedule something maybe with the team responsible for CAP or something like that to go into deep dive for them in their near future. So.
Yeah, I mean, just a couple of, as I said, I can want to be
Yeah,
respectful.
I don't want to push my luck.
take a few minutes. And yeah, let me once more share my screen here. You just go to cup.cloud.sap, and let me take that away. You do see an overview of CUP, and I'm very excited about it. So CUP is our opinionated programming model, and I'm very excited, for example, about these core data services. We talked about an aligned domain model earlier, and we model these objects using CDS, and that we do throughout our whole technology stack. So we model those, and we can annotate them. They are understood up to the Fiori UI, but they are also understood then in our analytics capabilities and so on. So that is the core ingredient where we also have been investing quite a bit in getting that done. And here, like one proof point, some of you may know about the repatriation app we had in Germany. So one Tuesday, 16 weeks back or so, the German Foreign Ministry sent an email, and at 8 p.m. I had that email in my inbox, and it said that the German foreign minister on that day announced that Germany would bring back Germans who are stranded abroad. And what happened then was that their locally built website couldn't cope with the demand and the load, and it crashed. And then the CUP team and some other experts and people who just wanted to help in our Slack channel raised their hand and said, yes, I'm there. And 23 hours later, we developed a registration website app process built on CAP. So we used CAP ourselves for that in order to build a very secure enterprise grade tiny application. It's not a lot, but it's an application, went through all the security standards and so on within 24 hours, 23 hours. And here you see a lot. Also, I'm very excited about events. So here we talked about domain models, we talked about events. I gave you that example of Henkel, where at important steps in the process, you can just fire an event. And based on that event, others can register to it. You can do extensions. It's a very lightweight way of extending. Yeah, so let me just pause here, but I heard and saw that there are so many requests. So yes, I would agree that we should do a deep dive on CUP, where it stands, what the roadmap is. I heard about open sourcing requests and so on and so on and so on.
Yes, I definitely think this one kind of deserves maybe a call all by itself. There was a comment in there about the story that you just were sharing. We should be publishing that. We should be sharing that broader. So Juergen, thank you so much for taking the time for this. I know you have an extremely busy schedule, but to give us all of this time and the extra time is fantastic. I think the community, as well as myself and my team, are very appreciative of it, and we're excited to have you back. This is going to be great.
Thank you so much, Greg. Thanks everyone for spending your time as well. It's a pleasure to be back also in these new times. We do it online. It's also okay. And I see the enthusiasm here in the chat and with the Q&A. So I'm excited. Thank you so much.